It is 9:04, so we are going to get going. The first thing I want to do is talk about the wonderful American Rescue Plan. We were so fortunate to have President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris lead the legislative charge to make sure that relief was on the way. I'm going to read you a piece by Brookings Institute, not normally a Democratic talking point or something that we get a lot of our references from, but I thought it was a really good piece and talked about why it's so important that this American Rescue Plan was passed, especially for us here locally in Greenville County. Among the 1.9 trillion worth of federal COVID-19 relief in the newly signed American Rescue Plan Act, known affectionately as ARP, is $350 billion for coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. At roughly 1/5 of the bill's total cost, these funds will be deployed to state and local governments in two tranches. The first within 60 days, and the second a year after the initial allotment, to mitigate the fiscal impact of COVID-19 pandemic. For many cities and counties, the ARP's state and local funds are not just a $350 billion lifeline. They represent the largest positive fiscal jolt to their budgets in decades. Now, a scramble is underway to determine how best to deploy the money. The decisions made in the coming weeks and over the next year regarding the second tranche of funding will determine whether cities merely enjoy a brief stimulus or seed a new trajectory for inclusive economic growth. The stakes couldn't be higher. The money needs to move fast and to be deployed smartly and equitably. In 10 years, we may look back at this time and ask, which places merely spent their money and which places invested it? Based on our on-the-ground work in Northeast Ohio and Birmingham, Alabama, we believe that elected officials and the network of civic, business, philanthropic, and community stakeholders that surround them should take a three-pronged approach to using the ARP funding. That is to stabilize, strategize, and organize. Under stabilize, ARP provides state and local governments with the resources to stabilize their operating budgets. So many local governments incurred large deficits in 2020 as the economic slowdown hurt tax revenues, and local governments assumed significant pandemic-related costs. To remedy this imbalance, many cities pared back essential services. First responders, sanitation workers, planning personnel, and other government employees face hour reductions and furloughs. Other governments cut back on contracts with agencies delivering vital social services. Local government shortfalls will vary considerably across the United States, owing to the disparate economic impact of COVID-19 and how cities collect revenues. Birmingham, for one example, depends heavily on sales tax and income tax revenue and experienced a shortfall of $63 million in the fiscal year 2021. Much of the first half of the city's $149 million ARP allocation will find and fill that hole. We want to strategize. In addition to direct government services, ARP allows cities to invest in infrastructure and launch programs to support workers and small businesses. Those investments can be spent directly by public entities or funneled through nonprofits. The funding magnitude and flexibility suggest that local governments should be strategic in deploying any ARP funds that extend beyond basic budget stabilization. In making investments, local leaders should consider four factors. Immediacy. People and businesses are hurting. Businesses need capital to reopen doors, and people need outreach and skill development to match these available jobs. While it's important to consider an investment's impact beyond the immediate term, providing such immediate help is a necessary baseline for a longer-term recovery. Inclusivity. An important lesson from last year's CARES Act is that moving resources very quickly through existing systems can exacerbate economic and racial inequity. Many minority-owned micro businesses did not access loans through the federal government's PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, due to a lack of awareness, a lack of connectivity, and outright discrimination. Acknowledging this inequity, ARP provides funding for community navigators to ensure equitable access to capital and technical assistance. This approach can work, but requires organizational coalitions that have legitimacy and reach in a diverse range of communities. One great example in Cleveland is the Urban League's small but successful loan support program, qualifying for federal funds as a revolving loan fund. We want to focus on future prosperity. Localities will receive 2 ARP disbursements over the year, but they will have until the end of 2024 to spend all the funds. Local leaders thus have a chance to invest in future growth and prosperity, the impacts of which will extend beyond near-term expenditure needs. Partnering with local workforce training organizations, public health officials, healthcare employees, colleges and universities will help to train and employ community awareness and enable our ability to be able to reach our healthcare requirements during this vaccination and pandemic time. Under the plan, the program participants would be paid to work at community health clinics and conduct community outreach for 20 hours per week. The other half, they would be paid to take training in one of 3 health-related occupational pathways that would set them up for post-pandemic career. We want to be complementary. ARP Invest can boost strategies already in progress. For several years, multiple players in Cleveland have been collaborating to ensure positive economic spillovers from the Opportunity Corridor, a $350 million road project through one of the most economically distressed neighborhoods in the country. The city, foundations, the Regional Chamber of Commerce, and others have worked with the local Community Development Corporation, the CDC, to purchase and remediate land in the hopes of bringing mid-skilled, family-sustaining jobs back to this promising part of the city. The CDC, and that's not the Center for Disease Control, that is the Community Development Corporation, has a vision of creating a food tech hub that harnesses the region's many food-related assets into a business accelerator with shared production, storage infrastructure, and a startup fund to support diverse entrepreneurs and a workforce development center to prepare people to attain and advance in their careers. Lastly, we want to talk about organizing. While ARP money flows through cities and counties, the most effective public officials know that deploying it will require a team. Drawing on a proposal from colleagues Mary Jean Ryan and Alan Berube, a Regional Recovery Coordinated Council can be set up and can execute strategic investments and monitor impact. These councils should be public-private partnerships that include small businesses, neighborhood leaders, social service agencies, philanthropic leaders, and corporate heads. They would be tasked with aggregating and supplementing existing recovery plans, setting goals, recommending investments, and tracking results. These councils can also play a role far beyond the ARP's local government allocation. They can identify and pursue relevant opportunities in the many other parts of the $1.9 trillion legislation, such as education, transit, small business, and affordable housing. Councils can also coordinate responses to potentially large future federal legislation around infrastructure and innovation, and determine what complementary projects, actions, and deeds we can take to act as a force multiplier. Furthermore, a council can serve as a unified voice to liaise with implementing agencies. For example, during the CARES Act, a consortium of Cleveland-based institutions came together to share a curated list of priorities with the Regional Economic Development Adjustment Office and worked around the Economic Adjustment Assistance Program. The model worked well for both parties and continues to this day. Similarly, ARP funding is a major strategic focus in a new collaborative called Prosper Birmingham, which is developing a regional investment agenda under the leadership of community leaders, city and county elected officials, corporate CEOs, philanthropic and university presidents, and entrepreneurs and small business owners. We have an opportunity to act here. Before the passage of the ARP, it wasn't clear whether these cities and counties would receive the financial resources they needed to rebuild from the pandemic and the recession. If it were left up to the Republican Party, we would be shortfall not only the $350 billion, but the entire relief effort that is due to come to the American people because of the American Rescue Plan. Now that this funding is secure, it is time for us to act. Local coalitions, you all, can help stabilize our communities, strategize together, and invest in future prosperity, organizing ourselves to enable an inclusive recovery from COVID-19. I want us all to think about what are we going to do to ensure that we're holding our local elected officials accountable as Greenville is given these funds, and how can we lock arms and amplify our voices using strategy and organization to be able to make sure the least of us is taken care of in this American Rescue Plan. Thank you. That was again from the Brookings Institute. It was a great piece, and I want to get right into our breakfast activities. Again, we're coming live to you here from the new and improved GCDP headquarters. As the event and the breakfast goes on, you're going to be seeing different portions of our new office. This is the chair's office. You will see it. We named our chair's office after the Honorable Lottie Gibson. We felt it was so important to highlight the people that are doing the work in the community, the people that have done the work in the community selflessly. Miss Lottie is no longer with us, but she left a legacy through her son and her daughter and through so many people that she championed to get involved and get in the game. So I am so proud to be sitting in the Lottie Gibson's chair's office and coming to you again from the Greenville County headquarters. We're going to talk to you briefly about our events, and then we're going to get right into our program. Some of the events that we have coming up are our Second Thursday Conversations. In April, we're going to be featuring Youth and Democracy. We are very, very excited. Please check out our amazing replay of Women in Political Leadership. It was a dynamic conversation with former Councilwoman Jill Littlejohn Bostick, former Councilwoman Diane Smock, and current council members Lillian Brock Fleming and Dorothy Dow. They talked about mentorship, empowerment, and also about the need for women to get even more engaged and the ability for the Democratic Party to support them and openly support them. We're so excited to have our dynamic breakfast speakers here today, but a preview for April's breakfast is Brett Bursey, the Executive Director of the South Carolina Progressive Caucus, and Conway Belangia, the Elections Director for the Greenville County Election Commission. This month's Advocacy Challenge is surrounding the open carry permit that is being discussed in Columbia. Please look at our website, see the actions that you can take. We want to make sure that we're advocating people to make sure that our voices are lifted up and our voices are heard. I hope you enjoyed celebrating Women's History Month with us. We had 31 days and multiple events of highlighting not only women's legacy in Greenville, but across this great country. Please check out our website again if you want to stay in touch for these last couple of days on what we have done or what we plan to do to finish out the month strong. We're also planning a great summit with the Democratic leadership coming up in April. We're bringing together the boards and leaders of Democratic Women, the Democratic Black Caucus of Greenville, Young Democrats, High School Democrats, and the Greenville County Democratic Party to synergize and focus our efforts on rebuilding and building back better, as President Biden says. I also am excited to announce that details are being finalized for the convention. You'll be getting an email from the party. The convention will be in May and will be virtual because of the pandemic. We're very excited to have an opportunity to fellowship with the rest of the great Democrats across the state. It is now my great, great pleasure and my honor to introduce my friend, Adriene Atkinson, who is immersed in our community and leads with passion and compassion. Today, she is representing the National Council of Negro Women, NCNW, Greenville chapter. A brief summary about NCNW. The National Council of Negro Women's mission is to lead, empower, and advocate for women of African descent, their families, and communities. The National Council of Negro Women is an organization of organizations comprised of 300 campus and community-based sections and 32 national women's organizations that enlighten, inspire, and connect more than 2 million women and men. The NCNW was founded in 1935 by Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, an influential educator and activist. If y'all don't know about Dr. Bethune, definitely research her and read about her because she was a force of nature. And for more than 50 years, the iconic Dr. Dorothy Height was president of the National Council of Negro Women. Janetta Besh Cole was elected chair in 2018, ushering in a new era of social activism and continues the progress and growth for the organization. About Adriene. Adriene is a Greenville, South Carolina native and the proud mother of 4 adult children and 2 beautiful grandchildren. Adriene received degrees in public service and criminal justice, and she is currently employed as the Housing Assistant Program Manager at Safe Harbor, where she does tremendous, impactful work. Adriene serves as the first Vice President of the National Council of Negro Women Greenville, and she's the president of the Belmead Community Group. She's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Inc., a member of the League of Women Voters. Adriene is so involved in our community, serving on so many boards, including the JCH Foundation, NAACP Executive Board, Greenville Technical College Human Services Advisory Board. Adriene is a proud graduate of the 2019 class of Emerge South Carolina. And last year, Adriene placed second in the primary election for SC House of Representatives, District 25. She ran a successful campaign, allowing her to engage with residents of her district and allowing them a platform to highlight their voice. Adriene is excitedly looking forward to 2022, where she plans again to seek higher office. In December 2020, Adriene was elected as first vice chair of the dynamic Democratic Women of Greenville County, and in this role, Adriene's mission, passion, and goal to lead this organization in the state's effort to make sure we're turning South Carolina blue. With that introduction, I'd love to turn it over to all of our friend and an amazing community champion, Adriene Atkinson.
Thank you so much, Eli. You make me sound like Kamala or somebody. Thank you. Also, thank you for reading all of our information by NCNW. So I guess I'm just going to have to wing it now because that was my plan. That's all right. But one of my favorite, absolute favorite quotes from Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, she said that next to God, we need to be indebted to women. First, for giving us life. And then second, for making it worth living. And I got to second that. Mary McLeod Bethune was amazing. And if you all don't know, she was right here from Maysville, South Carolina. And so we are very proud in Greenville to have chartered the Greenville section of NCNW. We were chartered in September 21st, 2019. And since that time, we have taken off. We've hit the ground running excitedly and doing the grassroots work that our great founder challenged all of us to do. And again, although our name, of course, is National Council of Negro Women, we have to know and remember that Black women are a force to be reckoned with, and powerful voting bloc, to say the least. We are definitely head of households in a lot of households in our community. And so when Black women are empowered and leading and advocating for communities, that betters all communities, and communities, not only our communities, but the communities around us. And so National Council of Negro Women is open to everyone, women, men, Black, white, children, youth, everyone. We're open to, because the work that we do is important for all of us. It expands and it supersedes and transcends the entire community around us. I'm very proud of what we've done here in Greenville since chartering our National Council of Negro Women Greenville County section. We definitely, one of our first events was to do voter registration events. And one thing that we thought important is that we want to make sure that we're going to where the people are. And we know that sometimes it's really nice to go to some of the well-lit, the comfortable, the nice looking places to register people to vote. But more times than not, those people are already registered to vote. If you go to register someone at the Y at 12 o'clock on a Friday, more than likely, those people are already registered to vote. Our goal is to go where the people are who need to be registered, who need empowerment, who need to be advocated for. So we're in the trenches and we're doing the grassroots work to make sure that those people who need to be lifted up in our communities, we're right there where they are. We're not expecting them to come to us, we're going to where they are. Our president of our Greenville County section, Diane Thomas, couldn't be here today, but we're thankful for her. She is a lifetime member of NCNW, and she led the way in showing us what to do and leading us into getting our section chartered. So along with voter registration, one of the things that we've done is being able to provide those comfort things to the community. And we know that with everything that's going on just this week in Georgia, sadly so, some of those things that we were offering, comfort food, snacks, some things that would keep people motivated, encouraged, keep them from being parts in the lines why they went to vote. We know that in Georgia, and I can only imagine how that's going to follow in our state. But we know in Georgia, they're trying to stop those things. They're trying to make it so difficult for people to do those things. And the work that we do there, we're not going to stop with that. I'm looking forward to Ann talking to us and talking about what we can do to fight some of those things. But NCNW is definitely in a place to make sure that we're advocating and we're fighting those things. Our organization, as Eli said, is led currently by President Dr. Janetta B. Cole, who's a former president of Spelman College. What NCNW works towards in our initiatives is something that we call for the future. Our four main purpose areas, that's public policy and social activism, physical and mental health, economic empowerment and entrepreneurship, and the STEAM with the science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. We are launching many programs in the area to ensure that we are getting out all of these for the future purpose areas to our community to ensure that our communities are being uplifted. We invite anyone who's absolutely interested in the NCNW to please contact us. All are welcome to join. All you have to have is a heart for wanting to uplift the community, making sure that we're following the lead of our great founder, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. Our section was also at MLK Gala in 2020, which seems so long ago, when we were outside dressed up and able to attend things. We were awarded with the Voice Award due to the work that we've been doing in the community, grassroots work, the work that we've done to get out those things like we spoke about making sure that voters were cared for. The year before that, well, actually last year as well, in the 2020 presidential primary here, we did what we call roll to the poll. And we made sure that voters had rides to the poll if they wanted to vote. And our organization's members made sure that we were dispatched all over Greenville County to ensure that if anyone needed a ride to the poll, we were there to make sure that we were doing that. And so with so many different initiatives that are going on, we invite you all to join us. We're excited about the future of NCNW, where it's going, what we're doing now, and we're excited that Greenville County Democratic Party is recognizing what's going on in the community. So I absolutely thank you for this invitation. The NCNW thanks you. Again, we welcome you to join us.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. And if you all don't know Adrienne, you will be hearing a lot more of her. Adrienne is someone that I'm hoping will serve us proudly in some elected capacity because her heart is in the right place. For any of you that know Adrienne, her heart is always in the right place. Adrienne, thank you so much. And I know we'll be featuring you a little bit later. So I'm so excited that you were able to join. We're going to do a little bit of what I like to call a virtual office opening right now. So like I said, I'm sitting in the Lottie Gibson's chair's office, Again, we could not find a better standard bearer for our chairman's, chairwoman's, chairperson's office. I did not have the pleasure of meeting Miss Gibson, the Honorable Miss Gibson, but from what I hear, I would have loved her. She was a force of nature, and she didn't take no for an answer. When she wanted to get something done, she put her mind to it. And as Democrats, I want to embody that tenacity, and that's why we chose to honor her by naming the chair's office after her. I hope no one has motion sickness because we're going to be moving a little bit. I did want to show you, we've changed the office some. We have the wonderful Kennedy picture behind us. I have my little whiteboard. We are a fan of our donkeys right over there. So that is our brand donkey right here. And I am going to kick it off to the reason this project is done. We had an awesome project manager at the chair, an amazing first vice chair in Ruth Todd. And Todd was our project manager extraordinaire. And I'm going to kick it to her. And she's going to be coming to you live from our new conference room. Take it away, Ruth.
Hi, everybody. And thank you, Eli. Yes, we worked hard to get all this done with many volunteers that came in the office and painted. But this is the conference room. It is going to be, it's a private conference room now. And I just want to show you what kind of work we did. It's called the Kiner Johnson Conference Room. Just give you a little bitty tour. And we are highlighting our past governors and mayors and representatives and senators from years past in this conference room. Just wanting to show you, we have the big table in here. And we wanted everybody to know that it's available for meetings. So if you have a meeting, you can schedule it with us. Also, I'm going to kick it off to Jonathan now. He's in our workroom.
Good morning, Greenville Democrats. Hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for that, Ruth. As she just said, I am in the workroom now. A lot of you will recognize it as the maps room that we have our trusty maps. We also have all of our supplies here, and you'll notice that Democratic cards, note cards, envelopes. We also have our trusty copier printer here for your use when you are here. But as I said, also, you'll see the maps that are set up that we've always had for our different districts across our county. And so it is a workable space. It is a functional space. Everything is labeled. And so you'll be able to, utilize this space as much as possible. And so as now, I will go ahead and kick it to our second vice chair, Sharon Garrett.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sharon, and I'm in the auxiliary workroom. So I am here with you, showing you around in the auxiliary workroom. We have the places for our auxiliaries to come in. We have the this place right here is our Democratic women area for all of our auxiliaries to be here, and there's space, there's storage for them. We have the young Democrats. This is their place, Young Democrats of Greenville County. And then we have the Black Democratic Caucus. This is their place where they are at. We have pictures in the office too for you to see, but there is storage, and we do appreciate it for all of our auxiliaries being with us. And we thank you for your support. And don't forget to come and stop by the auxiliary workroom when you're here. Now I'm going to kick it to Hal, who is in the back in our hanging out in our storage area.
Hello, everybody. This is Hal coming live from the break room here at the Greenville County Democratic Office. And I'm very excited to show you guys all the great things we have here. As you know, we Democrats, we take care of our own, and we make sure that when you come here and you volunteer for us, you have a well-stocked fridge full of water for your drinking purposes. And of course, coffee, the most powerful ingredient in the Democratic win for our county. And then we have plenty of workspaces back here. And this is where you can have, this is the table that I call the place where the breakfast of champions are had. I had some breakfast of champions just earlier today. And of course, we have the brand new renovated bathroom. You probably couldn't tell, but this is the brightest bathroom I've ever been in. And it looks beautiful, looks perfect with all the great situations on board. So with that, I will kick it to Eli for the hallway at the lobby.
Hey everyone, I'm going to take over for a second while Eli's getting hooked back up. I am at the front office desk where we want this to be the most welcoming place that you come in when you first see us. So I'm going to walk around just a little bit to show you. When you come in the door, you will meet the person, the volunteer at the desk, which that was me a minute ago. And we have moved the computer to the front of the desk where the volunteer will never have to turn their back on anyone again. We have made a mural for everyone to see all the work we've done in the past couple of years. So hopefully we have everybody in. And I think I'm going to go ahead and kick it to Eli, and he's going to use my computer.
Hi, everyone. I love Susan's comment. This is Biden Blue. Ruth and I were very strategic in Biden Blue. It is a beautiful color. It showcases our pride in being Democrats and also showcases a warm and inviting color, as Ruth said. This is the new and improved lobby. One thing I'm going to do is show you the floor. We've replaced carpet on carpet with beautiful hardwood floors. This expands the place. This makes it look bigger. This is also really healthy. So all of our volunteers that were breathing in those leftover residual 1970s carpet particles, we felt like we deserved better. We felt like you as a party deserved better. So our goal was to make sure that this place honored and valued the democratic pride that we have. I'm also really excited to show you our continuation of the Democratic Women Library. So grateful for all that they've done. We've spaced it out a little bit, but I also want to show you our lounge area. So I'm going to have Ruth kind of hold it, and I'm going to be sitting right over here in our lounge area. This used to be where the conference table was come. Talk about open space. People can come, people can fellowship, people can talk, and we are so proud of all the work that we've done. We could not have done this without the amazing volunteerism, financial support of so many people. This project, I'm going to grab my computer back from Ruth. This project was about $13,000. We are proud to let you know today the GCDP paid less than $3,000 total to get all of this done. $2,000 of in-kind donation, not even including the work time, the work hours, and so many receipts that people just didn't turn in. We wanted to make this space so beautiful and so welcoming that we will invite people to just walk in and join our ranks as Democrats. We hope you all are enjoying it. Come by and see us. We're back in business. We're open. Our amazing office volunteers take time out of their schedule to make sure that we have a presence and a smiling face at that door. So what I really, really want to do is from the bottom of my heart, thank all of the volunteers who took time out of their schedule to come make this place beautiful. At this time, I want to acknowledge a dear, dear friend of not only mine, but our entire leadership team. We were so excited when she was elected as the president of Democratic Women. At this time, I want to acknowledge the entire board of Democratic Women, the longest serving Democratic group in Greenville County. Democratic Women has a history and legacy of engaging and making sure that our values are always lived out. I'd like to acknowledge first Vice Chair Adriene Atkinson, second Vice Chair Tamisha Grant, wonderful treasurer Peggy Schott, who is just a wonderful human being, and we see her a lot because she's picking up all that money, making sure Democratic Women has it. We also want to highlight Lucille Herwald, who is the secretary and just wears so many hats. But at this time, I really want to introduce my friend and someone who's going to continue to make positive change in this community, Mary Wright.
Thank you, Eli. I appreciate this opportunity you've given us to be here today. I'm joined today by a group of women that Eli has just told you about, and some other chairwomen as well. These are dedicated and dynamic women that have joined with us to be part of the board of directors and be part of the leadership of the Democratic Women of Greenville County. First of all, I want to tell you something. They have said yes, they have stepped forward to take a leadership role in doing exactly what Eli just talked about and being able to educate and empower and engage a growing organization of phenomenal women. I cannot tell you how many we have been hearing from that want to be a part of what we are doing right now, that say, I want to be in a place where there are like-minded people. I want to be in a place where we are taking action and they see the work that we are doing. And I will say this on my behalf, since I have just taken over the leadership in January, I have been so fortunate to have the wise counsel of these women who are walking in this journey with me. And I want to just do a shout out to Linda Hartman, who certainly has played a role, Kate French, and many others who have helped me, past presents, who've helped me to understand the role that we play. So thank you very much for all that to make this a successful year or two. Something I will say is, yes, we are passionate about our work. And yes, we are committed to the well-being of our organization. We're very committed to our community and its people. And we plan to emerge as a dynamic group of women that is going to be making a difference. In the words of Kamala Harris, you know, this is my mantra this year, our unity is our strength, and you can bet our diversity is our power. And currently, I'm going to tell you something we are so proud of. Our membership continues to grow. Right now, we have 592 members, heading right into 600. And on our social media footprint, we have right now more than 1,600 members who are joining with us and sharing in this experience. So if you know anything about our group, though, part of that is because we are inclusive and we are a diverse group. In our group, all are welcome. Men, women, everyone from all groups. And in fact, Adrian, our program person this year, is also presenting a phenomenal program coming up in April that is addressing that is looking at how inclusive and diverse our community is and how we can support them in doing their work. At our very best, we are energized activists and advocates. And we are political leaders and we are community leaders. And basically, the Democratic women come from all walks of life. And as we go forward, I know as I came in January, we were looking to make sure we have built a really strong structure this year. Part of that has been even going through a process of self-study, essentially. We have been redefining the way that we govern and lead our organization through a revision program with our bylaws committee. Tangela Coakley is heading that up and has done a phenomenal job in making sure that when we address that, we're going to be stronger and more focused in our work and know what that work is that we're supposed to do. But as a group, we continue to be engaged with the public. We continue to make sure that we were out there registering and mobilizing and enabling our voters to get to the polls and vote in every election. And we certainly joined with the GCDP in that effort. They certainly have helped lead the way And we certainly will be there as always to back that up. Thank you so much for all the work we've done in the last couple of years to make that really possible. As an organization and as women, one of our primary missions is to make sure that we empower women and to make sure they take their place at the table. And what that means is that we want to make sure that if there's any chance that a Democratic woman can run for office, we are there to support them. We're going to make sure that we can recruit those who are willing and able to do that. We want to make sure that if they do step up, we get them trained. And then finally, make sure that we financially support them as well with the funding that we have. And part of our work this year is that we actually are really trying to strengthen our fundraising efforts. We've got a good team doing that as well. In fact, we've got a really cool one right now. During the pandemic, we have the Lunchbox funding campaign. And basically what we've done is any of the money you would have used for the actual event for attending our lunches, we ask that you contribute that right now to go toward that funding process. But we've got a group that's planning some great events and then opportunities for us to get together. That'll be a fun activity as well. And then the other aspect of all of our work is we're going to make sure that we educate women about legislation. And right now we have Linda Hartman, who's going to be heading that up. Thank you, Linda. You're back one more time. And I am so thankful that you've agreed to do this with us. Linda is one that has a great deal of experience, and she's going to keep us up on the issues, make sure we know when we need to step forward, those issues that need to be addressed, and as a community to be able to, as a community of women, to be able to step into that and lobby for any of those events that support our Democratic leaders, but also support those bills and legislative action. So that's a wonderful part of what she will bring to our educational experience. And I think also what Adrienne does is bringing great educational opportunities to make sure we're enlightened and informed and educated at our meetings, just as I see here at GCDP we're doing as well. So some of the things we are doing, I think that Adrienne already addressed with her organization that she spoke of. We have found that, we would be out in the fields campaigning. We would be asking people to vote for us, but many of us had not met these people personally, had not been engaged with them every day. We identified, similar to what Adrienne is talking about, we have to go where they are. We need to be part of their community. We need to be engaged with them. And so that is certainly something that we will continue to do because, our working class families need our support. We're looking at issues they face that many may not have to. They have to figure out, how can I get health care or get affordable housing? For that matter, even get a house. We have to make sure that we are able to help them to find a way through getting people elected to deal with things like rising income inequality and basically fighting the social, racial, and economic issues that are prevalent in many of our communities today. Having said all that, how are we going to do this? Well, we have challenged our members to make a difference. We have asked them to get politically active and participate in local and state government, something that this group has been doing, but we want to continue to make sure that we're stronger presence and make sure that we're involved with city and county government. We have asked them to make sure they attend public meetings, and in our information, we always make sure they know when those meetings now will occur and remind them that they're happening. We're asking them to do local and state boards and commissions and volunteer in nonprofit. So all of this, at the end of the day, we know we have work to do, and we certainly are excited to join with the GCDP to do that work. They have got some great plans for us this year because we want to be taking those stepping stone steps that we can contribute to turning this state blue. We cannot have another experience when, as Adrienne said, we look at Georgia. We're not going backwards, we're going forwards. And this state is going to turn blue. We're going to all make that happen. So thank you so much for having us today, Eli. I'm so excited to talk about our work today. Thank you for giving us the chance to do that.
Thank you, Mary, so much for your words, and also thank you for your leadership, the team that you're bringing together. You have an amazing team, and I'm always a big Linda Hartman fan. So anytime that name, you saw me clap. I love Miss Linda. She is a blessing to so many people.
Yes, she is.
So thank you.
Yes, she is. Thank you, Eli.
And thank you to your whole team. At this time, I am so excited. I don't know if many of you know, there's a term called fanboy. When someone gets really excited about someone, when someone is really excited to hear someone or is a fan of this person, they get really excited, they can't control themselves. That's how I get when I see what WREN does and I listen to Ann Warner. I'm going to start with a couple of things. When it comes to advocacy, education, and clarity of message, the Women's Rights and Empowerment Network, affectionately known as WREN, is one of the leaders across the state of South Carolina, and I dare to say across the country. The consistency in which their entire staff approaches the work that they do is inspiring. When you think of WREN, we think of integrity, a force of nature standing in the gap, fiercely defending and protecting women's rights in Greenville. We know how smart they are as they scooped up our very own Courtney Thomas. The driving force behind all of this critical work, and she won't take the credit, is Ann Warner. As I mentioned before I get into Ann's bio, one of the people that I have so much respect for thinks so highly and thinks the world of Ann that I was like, well, if Susan Reardon thinks so much of Ann, I need to do my research. And Susan, you didn't steer me wrong. Ann Warner has nearly 20 years of experience advocating for the rights of women and girls around the world and in the South. She is the proud CEO of the Women's Rights and Empowerment Network, WREN, a statewide nonprofit organization that is building a movement to advance the health, economic well-being, and rights of women, girls, and their families in South Carolina. As CEO, Ann mobilizes policymakers, business leaders, grassroots leaders, and citizens to remove those barriers to gender equity and advance diverse women's leadership across this great state. She leads the development and implementation of a strategic plan for statewide expansion and impact. She oversees the advocacy, education, and empowerment programs. She develops meaningful, relational-based partnerships. She directs the operation and leads an amazingly talented team. Courtney is just one of the many talented. Ashley, who was just on a call in Greenville, is one of the smartest people I've ever been in a room with. Before moving to South Carolina and to lead WREN, Ann spent 8 years with the International Center for Research on Women, the ICRW, in Washington, D.C., where she led research and advocacy initiatives to promote the health and empowerment of women and girls around the world. She was also the co-chair of the U.S. National Chapter of Girls Not Brides, Global Partnership to End Child Marriage, and has successfully advocated with the U.S. government to prioritize the issue of child marriage. Ann conducted research on the violence against women and girls in West African nation of Liberia in collaboration with the IRC, the International Rescue Committee. She has also worked for CARE USA, building support for humanitarian relief, developmental programs around the world, and for HIV/AIDS service and education organizations in our neighboring state of Georgia and Atlanta. Ann has a joint Master's of International Affairs and Master's of Public Health from Columbia University and a Bachelor's of Arts in English from Wellesley College. Ann is a graduate of the Riley Institute of Diversity Leaders Initiative. And what I have seen from Ann, she is someone who leads with humility. She's earned the reputation of being at the forefront of change. I was proud to be a small part of, and again, Susan Reardon's leadership. She was the recipient of Emerge South Carolina's Woman of the Year last year for her continued leadership and her vision and her fight for a better South Carolina. Ann, thank you so much for taking time and joining us today in Greenville. It is my pleasure, and I'm so grateful for you. I'm going to turn the program over to Ann Warner, Chief Executive Officer of WREN.
Gosh, thank you so much, Eli. That is a really, really generous introduction. And I feel like, I'm just going to sit down and hang out now. Like, what can I do after that? I am really, really delighted to be with you all. I wish it could be in person. I'm in Columbia this morning in my home office. And I can't wait until I can get back on the road and be in Greenville more frequently, because I just love working in Greenville. There are so many incredible organizations and people doing really good work. And we heard from so many of them this morning, and it's really inspiring to hear and see the work that you're doing, and to see the physical demonstration of the strength of the Democratic Party in Greenville through that lovely new office. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be with you all this morning. I am going to, some people like PowerPoint, some people hate PowerPoint, but you know what? It helps keep me focused. So feel free to, not look at the screen if you are anti-PowerPoint, but I am going to, it always is a little bit funky on Zoom. I always cross my fingers that this is going to work. Can I get a thumbs up if y'all can see? Yay, thank you, Eli. I see that. Okay, so I'm going to walk us through these slides. And as Eli mentioned, Courtney Thomas is WREN's incredible director of communications. And she is, I believe, on the call this morning. So I am going to also lean on Courtney. Courtney's going to jump in when I miss something. And when we get to Q&A, I hope she will jump in. And hey, guess what? It's 2021. Whoops, we are not in 2020 anymore. I am catching up to y'all. But anyway, without further ado, why does WREN exist? And you've heard a lot of this already from the incredible speakers this morning. These are this is just a smattering of the statistics of why we need to continue to build a much stronger movement for gender justice and women's rights in South Carolina. So in a recent ranking, there are a lot of these rankings that come out from different sources. Sometimes you see we rank 44, sometimes you see 49, depending on the indicators they're looking at. But safe to say that South Carolina consistently ranks among the bottom of states when it comes to gender equity across indicators of health, economic status, educational access, violence against women, leadership, and civic participation. So we have a lot of work to do in a lot of different areas. A couple of the examples are here to show that, it's not like women in South Carolina aren't showing up and doing the work. Women are the majority of the electorate in our state. We are also, at least half the workforce, or we were until COVID kicked many of us out of the workforce. However, that's not translating into leadership. So we still have one of the lowest rates of representation in elected office in the country. And when it comes to earning and owning the economic assets that we deserve, that we are working for, we're also not on an equal footing. We're far from being on an equal footing with men in our state. And this WREN worked with Furman University, an economist there last year, to do a study on the gender and racial wealth gap. And we found that on average, women of color own less than 5 cents on every dollar owned by white men in South Carolina. So that's looking not just at the pay gap, which we'll actually get to a little bit later, but more comprehensively, what assets are owned. And that just speaks volumes about the generational barriers that are showing up and affecting the basic household economic security of families across our state, particularly that are led by women and women of color. And again, it's not because they're not working and showing up. It's because we have just many structural, historical, generational barriers that we have to get really serious about closing so that we can move forward as an entire state. So WREN, we launched in 2016, actually just before the election, which was an interesting time to start a women's rights organization. We had our launch events in October, most of them in October of 2016. So since that time, which has been a little over 4 years, we've become the leading statewide advocacy organization focused on gender justice. There are a lot of wonderful organizations doing a lot of great work at the community level, and it's our our privilege to try and unite some of those efforts across the state into this more powerful network of people and organizations that can really advance the overall cause of gender justice. So that means we work across a variety of issue areas, because what issue doesn't affect women and women's rights and gender justice? Just about everything does. So that makes our collective work really, really challenging, but also really exciting and urgent. I'm going to say a little bit more about how we work. So we advocate, we're probably best known for our advocacy work with the General Assembly in Columbia. And we also work with Congress, and we work with public agencies on public policy that can and help improve the status of women, girls, and gender expansive folks in the state. And while we can get a little bit downtrodden sometimes about South Carolina, we have seen firsthand that change is more than possible here. It is actually happening here. So we were incredibly proud to lead the advocacy effort for the passage of the South Carolina Pregnancy Accommodations Act just a couple of years ago. And y'all, that is the first comprehensive anti-pregnancy discrimination legislation that was passed in the entire Southern region. South Carolina got it done. And that was through really effective partnerships, advocacy work both inside the State House in a bipartisan way, but also really important work with our advocates across the state, with other partners outside of the state. But we were able to get that done and then build on that just last year to even strengthen that law further, to make sure that more workers in South Carolina who are breastfeeding have the accommodations that they need to be able to breastfeed on the job without discrimination, and to be able to have the resources that they need to do that. Last year, we also passed a law that it's a shame that we had to even talk about, but made it unlawful to shackle a pregnant person who is incarcerated during labor, delivery, or postpartum recovery. South Carolina was one of the last, unfortunately, to do that, but we did get that done again last year through the efforts, bipartisan efforts of many folks across the state. We also do a lot of education so that people know more about the issues, and that so they know how to act in support of the issues that they care about. Advocacy 101 trainings, so that people know more practically what they can do to take action. We have an annual statewide summit, and we typically have a regional summit every year as well. Of course, this year has been different. Everything is virtual. And Courtney Thomas leads that summit, as well as all of our communications and our social media campaigns. And she's just killing it out there on social media. If you're not following us, please do. And we'll show you the tags and handles that you can follow. We also do research. I mentioned the wage gap research, public polling. There's a real gap in terms of just knowledge of the barriers that women are facing. I mean, we know, we see it, we live it, but really having the numbers to show that, and then also the research to show what's working and what needs to be done better, is a gap that we're trying to fill. And then we engage people throughout the state, people like you all. We have a database of 40,000 or so folks, and we mobilize those people to take action, to give them the tools that they need to be able to advocate with their lawmakers and with other leaders in their communities. So we try to make it real easy for people to take action. And we have a lot of different kind of creative mobilization campaigns that involve history and art and photography. And we really like to be creative in how we do advocacy. It doesn't always involve showing up in the State House steps with a sign. It doesn't always involve calling your lawmaker. It can be having a photography project that shows, how these issues are showing up for your neighborhood and your community members. And it can also be celebrating the accomplishments of all the incredible people who've come before us, and making sure that we have more awareness of those accomplishments. And then we build coalitions, which are absolutely crucial to the work that we do. No one organization can actually do, sort of fulfill our ambitious mission. So we work with other coalitions. These are just a couple of them that we are very actively involved in. A regional coalition called the Southeastern Alliance for Reproductive Equity, and our state-based coalition called the South Carolina Coalition for Healthy Families, which focuses a lot on reproductive health rights and justice, a huge issue in South Carolina, as you all know. And then I want to highlight a particular issue because hopefully y'all have heard that this week we recognized Equal Pay Day. Equal Pay Day was March 24th, and that is the day that's recognized nationally to call attention to the fact that it takes the average woman working full-time until late March, to earn what the average man working full-time would have made by the end of the year. So that's an extra 3 months of work. And you never catch up to that because, those differences are always accumulating over time and lead to enormous loss of income for women, particularly women of color. As you can see in this graph, we have, the overall disparity is about 23% between women and men. But you've got to look at how that breaks down into racial categories and see that these disparities are hitting women of color, Black women and Latina women in particular, much, much harder. And that those gaps are harder to overcome. Our gender and racial wealth gaps, pay gaps are some of the worst in the country again, and those have barely budged. So we've been talking about this issue for decades. Some of you have been at this much longer than I have, and have been talking about the gender pay gap for decades. And we had some, great movement on this with the Federal Equal Pay Act back in the 60s, but you know what? that was a big improvement, but we have a lot further to go. That on its own is not sufficient. So when we start talking about solutions, I'm sorry for how many words there are on this slide. This is a lot, but I'm just going to hit the highlights. We have bipartisan legislation. This is one of WREN's priority pieces of legislation. H3183 and S514, we have the same bill in both chambers, introduced both with bipartisan support. The Act to Establish Pay Equity is the name of the bill. And what this would do is update that language that was used in the Federal Equal Pay Act to provide more clarity, and just simply saying that jobs that are similar should be paid similarly. And if there's a difference in pay, it should be based on a business-related factor. It shouldn't be based on gender, race, age, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or any other protected class. So the bill is broader than gender. It covers all protected classes and really, it tries to address the intersectional ways in which people can be disadvantaged in the workforce. And it's not always that employers are intentionally or trying to systematically discriminate, but they're using outdated policies, laws, and attitudes, frankly, to dictate how they're doing recruiting, hiring, and promoting within the workplace. So having stronger legislation to clarify those rules and regulations will help employees, and it will also help employers. The bill also adds more protections. So, for example, not allowing an employer or prospective employer to require an applicant to report their previous salary or wage history. Because if you think about it, that's really the best way to perpetuate discrimination, is by asking people to carry that from job to job to job to job over their career. And it's not fair, and it's really not helpful. And so making that unlawful is something that municipalities have done and some states have done. The City of Columbia and Richland County now don't allow salary history to be asked. And it's a real trend that we see a lot of momentum behind. So that's part of this bill. It also asks employers, no, it doesn't ask, it would require employers to provide some transparency on the salary or wage range for a job posting. And also makes it so that you can't be retaliated against if you're talking about your salary on the job, or if you're otherwise exercising your rights under the law. So legislation is a really important way to move forward. Our law in South Carolina is way outdated, and there are too many ways to get around it, and it just doesn't have teeth. So we need to prioritize getting this legislation a hearing and getting it moving in the House and the Senate. And you can help us take action on that, and I'll get to it. I want to again lift up my brilliant colleague Courtney Thomas, who arranged a whole campaign on this past week, working with our partners across the state. We have a petition and we have a business sign-on letter, and we can provide the links to both of those for y'all in the chat if you individually would like to sign on, and or if you have a business that you would like to sign on to that letter. It's really important that we show that employers are behind and supportive of this kind of legislation. It doesn't have to be scary. We also had a social media toolkit and a really cool video that our brilliant colleague Maya Ward created to show the support behind this bill, and also to use like those big Publishers Clearinghouse type checks to show what women are owed from the South Carolina legislature across the state. For example, Black women are owed about $900,000 because that's the amount of lifetime earnings that they are losing through the pay gap. So there's a link there. I'm not going to pull it up because I know something's going to mess up on me, but would love for y'all to check that out on your own time and follow us on social media to do that. And then we also do education with just regular folks around the state, as well as with employers. And we had a couple of interviews this week with an employment attorney, Sheila Willis, and also with Representative Wendy Brawley, who's our lead sponsor in the House on the pay equity legislation. And then this is just a little screenshot of a 2-page resource that we created. Again, this is really for employers to encourage them to take action on closing the pay gap, and what are some practical things that they can be doing voluntarily to make their workplaces more inclusive, more fair, and the kind of places where women want to work and they want to stay because they know that they're being treated fairly. And we have compiled some of those practices from our own experience as a small organization, a small nonprofit organization, continually trying to improve our practices, as well as from what others in our state and beyond are doing to voluntarily close these gaps. Because it really is going to take both public policy, but also the many, many businesses in our state taking this more seriously and showing that they're taking action. So that resource is up on our website as well. I want to quickly talk about our other, we have a lot going on at the State House right now. And you all probably know that we are quickly approaching crossover. So crossover is April 8th, and that is the point at which if your bill hasn't passed one chamber, then it's not going to happen until January of next year. So we're 2-year session. We're really racing to the end of this first year. And if it doesn't mean that if something hasn't passed one chamber, it's dead in the water, but it does mean that the time for that to move through both chambers and through the entire process is much tighter next year. So we are working against the clock here to get movement on our proactive policies. This isn't even all of them, but these are the main ones that we're working on. I've talked about the Act to Establish Pay Equity. We need a hearing on that bill. ASAP. And we are pushing to get that, and our lead sponsors are pushing that. Pressure from you all will help. We have also been working on a bill to get access to paid leave for state employees. This is for upon birth or adoption of a child, because right now that is not a benefit that state employees have. And this would be a huge step forward. A big part of our workforce in the state is state employees. And we need to be providing them what they need to be able to not only work, but take care of their families. Nobody should have to choose between an income and taking care of a new child. So it's a really good, strong bipartisan bill, and we hope it paves the way, that it'll pass, and it'll pave the way for private employers to also take stronger action on paid leave, and for us to be able to do more in a public policy to make that a mandate. The Pharmacy Access Act is on the Senate floor and pushing to get that over the line before crossover. That would make it so that pharmacists can dispense, prescribe and dispense contraceptives without somebody having to go to their OBGYN. So if it's a self-administered contraceptive, the pill, the patch, the ring, you can go to your pharmacist and get that without having to go through your doctor. Or if you have an injectable, the pharmacist can give that to you right there. So it really would increase access to contraceptives in South Carolina, which would be hugely helpful for people being able to, be healthy, to be able to participate as much as they want to in their education and their professional development, and just have more control over the timing and spacing of parenting, which is a fundamental human right. We've also been working on a bill to increase action on Black maternal mortality, which is also an enormous problem in South Carolina. And so this bill has passed subcommittee in both chambers and would basically create a stronger study committee to look at the issue and make very specific recommendations for how we decrease Black maternal mortality in South Carolina. And I am going to skip over Female Health and Wellness Act because I'm not sure that I can totally cover that one. Courtney, jump in for me if you can. But another equal pay bill, which is very important, is a bill that would make it unlawful to provide sub-minimum wages to people with disabilities. So it's current practice in South Carolina that you could pay somebody below federal minimum wage if they're a person with a disability. That is unfair. It is an issue of equity and justice, and it's a practice that absolutely needs to end. It is moving forward in the Senate, and but we need a lot of support for that bill. Again, it's a relic. It's something that in a modern workforce that respects all workers equally should not be happening in our state. So that's the proactive. I'm sure there are probably questions. I can't really see the chat right now, so I'm going to keep motoring through and we'll look at the chat, and happy to take questions on these when I wrap this up, which I'm getting close to. Of course, there's also defense work. So a big part of our mandate is trying to stop bad, harmful bills from passing. After many years, the 6-week abortion ban, S1, did pass through the legislature and was signed by the governor, as you all know, the first bill to pass the legislature. Shows you where their priorities are. Thankfully, it has been blocked by a federal judge. There's been a temporary injunction placed on this law, so it cannot be enforced. The access to abortion still stands. Now, we have all the access to abortion, which wasn't phenomenal before, but people can still seek the care that they need across the state of South Carolina. And so that case will probably we'll see what the state does if they decide to appeal and take it up to the next level, but that's going to take a long time. So for now, that law is blocked from being going into effect. And then we have to deal with the many, many other ways that the legislature will continue to try to block access to reproductive health care, including abortion care in the state, because many of them said that that bill actually didn't go far enough. So that fight continues, both, you know, from a legislative standpoint as well as within the judicial branch. We have also had a really terrible bill that would interfere with young people's access to gender affirming care. That was introduced just last month, and there's been a lot of attention to that bill. It's incredibly harmful and problematic, and we're firmly opposed to that. Both that bill and the anti-transgender student athlete bill, we are working in partnership with a coalition that, Courtney, can you put the name of the coalition in the chat, because it's escaping me right now. My 6-year-old is, you can look at your cake. Sorry. So we're standing in solidarity with a really excellent coalition of organizations that are working on these bills that unfairly target the LGBTQ plus community in our state, specifically our trans community, and that, you know, use guise of these names of saving women's sports, which is, you know, a real red herring for incredibly discriminatory and harmful legislation. So we're adamantly opposed to those bills and are working actively to keep them from moving forward. Also, some important environmental justice legislation, you know, increasing the amount of toxic waste that South Carolina can accept is something that is very harmful for everybody in South Carolina, particularly for women and families. The health impacts of melting plastics are tremendous. And so we are standing in opposition to this bill, working with our partners in the conservation and environmental justice community, and trying to increase education and action on that. So that's a little snapshot of our defense slate for now. Things pop up all the time, but those are the highlights, or the lowlights as they were. We are also working over the coming months. Right now we're really focused on the State House as well as Congress, because that's what's, you know, hopping right now. But we're also going to be working on some more research and advocacy on the impacts of COVID-19 and solutions to many of the issues that women in particular and caregivers have faced related to job loss, disruptions in access to childcare, disruptions in access to healthcare, and how those are really affecting women and people of color the most in South Carolina, and what we can be doing and should be doing to ensure that we have a COVID response and recovery that is long-term and that centers women and people of color. That is central in what South Carolina is doing. And we're certainly a long way from that right now. We continue to do advocacy training and skill shares on a lot of different topics with partners and folks around the state. And we would love to work with any of you all who would like to work with us to bring a training or a skill share so that we can really get into more of the practical side of legislative advocacy, and also on organizing, movement building, and a lot of the other facets of our work that are kind of growing edges of our work that we'd love to share with you all and learn from you and the work that you're doing. There are lots of ways to get involved. If you're not part of our network, please go to our website, scwren.org. Of course, our work depends on financial contributions of individuals. Our work is powered by donations. So if you are able and willing to make a financial contribution, we certainly appreciate you, and you can do that on our donate page. We also have a take action page, which will channel you into the issues that you may care most about. Again, our social media channels are a great way to follow our work because there's too much to continually update our website on, and we don't want to barrage people's inboxes on a daily or sometimes multiple times daily with everything that's happening at the State House and in our communities. So our social media channels are the best place to kind of follow the work in a more detailed way. And I would like to invite all of you to text. You can take your phone and you can text join WREN to 52886 right now. And that will get you put into our network, and we'll be able to keep you in the loop, keep you engaged. And you can always reach out to me. This is my email address, and Courtney Thomas as well. So that's an overview of WREN, why we do what we do and what we're up to. Our movement is only as strong as the people who show up and take action. And so we really want to hear from you all about what are the issues that are most important to you. How can we help you get more involved? How can we help amplify the issues that you care about? And how can we work more effectively together? So with that, I am going to turn off this screen share so I can see y'all and we can hopefully have a couple minutes for conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anne. That was so wonderful. We have some great questions, so I will kind of play moderator and just kind of shoot these questions out to you. Roxanne Kaur is one of our amazing volunteers. She has a great question. She asks, how do we educate and persuade conservative women that women's rights is more than abortion rights? And then she follows up with, how can we convince them that equal pay, access to women's health care, and other issues affect their lives as well?
Ooh, that's a good question. That is such a good question. I think it's, it's really, a lot of it is through relationship building and taking it out of kind of the slogans and even taking it out of the social media realm sometimes where everything gets politicized really quickly, and just having a conversation with people about, why they see those issues the way that they do. Have they ever known anybody who's needed to seek an abortion, for example? If they don't know, they probably are just unaware. Everybody knows somebody who's had an abortion, and just kind of asking more questions about that experience and why that, might be really relevant to somebody's full life. But also, I think that we can't, this is something WREN, faces a lot, is we can't let the divide and conquer mentality on that kind of bog us down. So for example, we're going to talk about abortion access, but we're also going to talk about the wealth gap. We're going to talk about, leadership and civic participation. We really try to resist the issue that abortion has to be siloed and over here, and that we know it's controversial. We know it's a lightning rod, but we just have to keep showing up and having rational conversations about, first of all, why it's important to all these other things that affect our lives, but also that it's not some other thing unto itself with other people. And, I think we have to do a better job of connecting the issues and telling stories and inviting people in to tell their stories. And I 100% welcome anybody's ideas and thoughts and creative approaches to that, because I think it is a real challenge. And if I had it figured out, believe me, I'd be doing it. But I think it's something we need to get better conversation and dialogue around. So Roxanne, you've got ideas, please.
That was a wonderful answer and a great question, Roxanne. Thank you for that. I have a great question. what specific advocacy steps can we take to push the Pay Equality Act? And do you feel like there's a real hope this can pass in South Carolina?
Absolutely. I feel there's a real hope that this can pass in South Carolina. It won't pass if we just sort of let it sit there. It won't. It's going to take a real push from a big swath of our community. And that's going to have to include business leaders who talk about that this is important for, modernizing South Carolina's workforce and attracting and retaining workers. And then it's going to have to come from advocates and voices like you all and from all corners of the state. So the link to signing the petition, Courtney, you already did it. Okay, perfect. I'm just gonna put that back down here because I know there's a lot of traffic in the chat. So nope, that's not it. Courtney, sorry, could you put that link to sign the petition back in the chat so that it's accessible? Thank you. Please sign that petition and let us know if you have ideas of conversations with people in your community that you think we would be interested in coming together on this topic a little bit more. We'd love to brainstorm with you on that and kind of find new ways of breaking through some of the noise at the State House, because let's be honest, there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of stuff going on that is not positive and that doesn't help people live healthier, more prosperous lives. And so we'd love to explore new kinds of partnerships and invite you all to approach either Courtney or me with thoughts you might have on that.
Awesome. And then I have another question, and I will open it up to some more. Can you talk a little bit about how you see the role of childcare and the lack of funding? Because it's not that we fund it, it's actually we lack of fund it. Amanda, this question is partially for you, my friend.
Yes.
Talk about how you how that's a challenge for you to talk to legislators and explain the importance of that integral piece of what I call infrastructure, because I feel like that community infrastructure.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And I think the pandemic has shown just how crucial childcare is to our economic and social fabric of our state. So if we don't have access to safe, affordable, quality childcare, women can't work, or they can't work as much as they would like. It is such a barrier. It's not only for women, but women do most of the caregiving. And so it's particularly detrimental in terms of women's participation in the workforce. And that is not optional for most families. It is not optional for, for one or both people to work in a household. 2/3 of households in South Carolina have at least one female breadwinner. So if we're not able to have access to childcare, we're not able to work as much as we want. And then again, back to pay equity, if we're not earning what we deserve, that's not only shortchanging us, that's shortchanging the families and households that rely on us for an income. And both of these issues, these are economic imperatives. They're not just quote unquote women's issues or family issues. They are really foundational to our ability to be a society where everybody can live up to their potential, and that includes work. So I think that legislators are open to the childcare conversation. They like talking about kids, right, Amanda? But it doesn't mean that they're always willing to put the resources that are required to actually make that more than a slogan, to actually make South Carolina a pro-life state where we take care of folks from cradle to grave. If we're not really willing to back that up with resources and infrastructure, then it doesn't mean anything in reality. It's just a political talking point. And Amanda is a real expert on this. And yes, paid family leave would really help, because then women have, and anybody who's pregnant or who's a parent would have that built-in protection of their income to be able to take the time off they need for those first 12 weeks, which are so crucial to both, parent and baby, and sets them off on the right foot for the rest of their lives.
Well, Anne, I want to thank you so much and just highlight again, you do such a beautiful job, you and your team, of being so clear, and you talk about issues that can be challenging and can be divisive, but you always do it with such grace and elegance, and you're always bringing people to the table. Thank you for Courtney and for Ashley, and I look forward to working with the rest of your team too, because everyone that comes from WREN is phenomenal. I want to remind folks, Miss Ann, would you just give us that number again to text? So if y'all pull out your phones, if you're not on their listserv, text this number that she's going to give you, and also fill out the links that Courtney said. That I already filled out the petition. While Courtney was on there, I already went on there. Fill out that petition and make sure we get our voices heard.
Yes, text join WREN to 52886. And Courtney put it in the box. And that's a great way to get into the hopper with us. And then we'll keep you engaged and informed. But also, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We love to hear from folks about, what you need, what you feel is important to your neighbors, families, and community members, and love to work with you.
Thank you again, Anne. And y'all, this is an organization where resources need to be put. So yes, I am an organizational leader of the GCDP, but if you have extra money, support WREN. If you have extra time, support WREN, because it all matters. And thank you so much again. You're phenomenal, just phenomenal. I have the pleasure of introducing our amazing elected officials. We recently had the pleasure of watching Miss Lillian Fleming re-announce her vision for District 2 and for the city of Greenville. So it is my pleasure to turn over the mic and the program to the amazing and incomparable Lillian Fleming. Is she okay?
Good morning. How y'all doing? Y'all have a great day. Everything has been said. It's wonderful. We have so much work to do. I just wrote in the chat, and I was so happy when Mary put the information about in France, the government pays. I am just so tired of America bragging about how great we are when we treat our children, women, poor, and people of color as if they are not even valuable at all. We've got to do better. And we say, give us, you're tired, you're poor, and you're what? We don't mean that. We just, we don't really mean that. And we've got to help make this country mean what they say. Thank y'all so much. And I just appreciate all the things that the women are doing in Greenville. The Democratic women, the Democratic Party, the National Council of Negro Women, all of the organizations, just keep up. I know we can do it. I learned that a long time ago on city council. When I proclaim I'm not a secretary, I have a degree and I'm working on doing what it needs to do. And so it will not change. I have granddaughters and I want them to know they can do whatever they want to do. Keep it up. Guess what? Sometimes it may look difficult. Right now, Georgia looks like, oh God. But Georgia not only looks like that, South Carolina looks just as bad, and all the rest of it. So let's just keep it up. We have to fight. That's all we can do. I made a donation to WREN last night because as I was reading and thinking about the information, so I did that last night because it's important that we've got to keep up the organizations that help our women. And I thank you, Ann and Courtney, for doing what you need to do. Have a good day.
Thank you, as always, Miss Lillian. You're always dynamic. And also, if you guys have not been paying attention to the news, Miss Lillian is getting some excellent press coverage because she is standing up for members of the community who want to be heard. So if you're not following that story, thank you, Miss Lillian, for standing up for the community. and for always making sure we're asking people in our neighborhoods what they want, not telling them what they need. So exciting to introduce a dear friend of not only the party, but of this whole community, our beautiful school board member and wonderful human being, Glenda Morris and Fair. I'd love to turn it over to you, Miss Glenda.
Good morning, ladies, and thank you, Eli. And you know, you have an amazing lineup this morning. I could not even take notes fast enough. It really, I guess, amazes me. I love the question that Roxanne asked, that all women are not united on the same page. I would love to walk in the shoes of those women who are not on board. I cannot understand it. So we have work to do. I appreciate all of the speakers. They brought so much good information to the table. Thank you for your work, ladies. And I will do my part for the children of America, not just South Carolina, but for the children of America, because Lillian is right. We treat everything first priority except our women and children in this country. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Miss Glenda. And the last thing we are going to show you is something that we are very proud of. And again, my amazing right hand and our all right hand, Ruth Todd, was our project manager. This is our beautiful hallway of presidents. How excited are we to see this face and not the orange one? Lord, we needed this so bad. As we go down, there is our awesome Jonathan Sweeney over there. We did this hallway to highlight our amazing presidents. We've got all of the pictures recolored, retouched up, matching frames to showcase all of the amazing Democratic presidents, including President Obama. And as amazing as that is, what makes me even more excited are these beautiful and amazing people. This is our elected local people. So you have Senator Allen, Representative Chandra Dillard, Representative Leola Robinson Simpson, the esteemed Honorable Councilwoman Xanthi Norris, and Councilman Ennis Fant. And then, of course, we have our amazing City Council and the beautiful school board. We are waiting on a picture of Ms. Deb Faulkner, who is our probate judge. But these are the folks that consider themselves out and proud Democrats. There are other people that are elected. They don't want to be out and proud Democrats. I will not put them on the wall. You can't wear that D on your chest. You do not deserve to be on our wall, because we need to choose a side. We need to choose a side. So with that being said, I thank you all. I know we're running a little bit late. It is such a blessing. And as I walk down here, you can see the photo that we have that you see coming down the hallway is, we are the change that we seek. It's President Obama. Yes, we can. So thank you all. What an amazing, amazing lineup. We really appreciate you all taking the time. We look forward to seeing you again. Stay engaged, stay healthy, get your vaccines. Talk to you all soon. Bye.